Man, I started repackaging Kool-Aid in 3rd grade and selling it to the kids.
Oh,
like a little mini drug dealer. I could have been a drug dealer if, but it was Kool-Aid and those kids were hungry.
Welcome to Guerrillapreneur, the art of waging small business warfare podcast, teaching Davids how to defeat Goliaths. Now here's your host, Mark Anthony Peterson.
Welcome to Guerrillapreneur, the art of waging small business warfare podcast. This is the podcast for entrepreneurs, startups, and business mavericks. In this podcast, we teach entrepreneurs how to defeat the corporate giant. Just like in the story of David and Goliath, David defeated a much taller and stronger Goliath, not by fighting the giant in hand-to-hand combat, but by using technology. Yes, a slingshot. The slingshot allowed the smaller David to attack from a distance that minimized the advantages that Goliath had over the smaller David. Guys, welcome back to the podcast. And you know what we like to do here. We like to give you all the Davids who are about to slay the Goliath. And we have a perfect show for you today in that regard. We have Miss Farah-Allen, who is the founder and CEO of the-labz, and she's taking on everybody in the music industry. And guess what? In film as well. That you can't top that when it comes to a David. So we're really excited to bring this show to you to help you understand how she's pivoted, all the issues that she's faced in launching the technology that she has, and the social impact of what that technology could mean to the community. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit more about Ms. Allen. Monica, how are you doing today? Our fabulous co-host, who is the executive director of the Women's Entrepreneurial Initiative for the City of Atlanta. How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderfully well, Mr. Peterson, and it is the Women's Entrepreneurship Initiative for the City of Atlanta.
That's right. I left that off. Sorry.
Talk about entrepreneurship. I'm doing fantastic, and I'm really, really happy to be here with both of you guys. I'm thrilled to introduce the brilliant Farah-Allen, a lady who does not have to get ready. She's ready. She's been ready. She's been slaying the Goliaths, and I'm really, really happy to spotlight her and talk about some of her accomplishments. So let me get into the bio. An accomplished tech leader with over 15 years of experience in the software development industries. Currently is CEO and founder of the-labz, which is a platform with a robust workspace from which creatives can mix and match multimedia communications tools to curate a secure, unique, and dynamic environment, perfect for each team member's collaboration preferences. The problem that Farah has been tackling is about this cross-vertical collaboration here. No one really solved for that. No one thought about it the way that she did, allowing creatives, all of which have several different creative processes. And actually, the technology is not caught up to that creativity. So I know this is a problem. And she's got this fantastic solution. Got a couple of really, really great pilots with people at the Level Forward Film Production Company that's associated with Abigail Disney, some fantastic initiatives through film festivals, theaters, museums. She spotlights a music partnership with other startups in the space like Song Splits. And she currently has over 1,500, that is 1,500 paid users contributing to her monthly revenue. Farah-Allen, I'm so happy to speak with you this evening and introduce you to the Guerrillapreneur movement.
I am so happy to be here. This is exciting. I love the subject matter. It's just really dear to my heart and dear to the struggle. And you know what we do? We got to talk about it. Let the people know that they could be here. It's not easy, but it's possible. That's the message.
You've been breaking ground. You've been breaking ground everywhere. But before we break ground and tell all the great things that you're doing, tell us a little bit more about you as a person. I mean, you've from Florida A&M or Architectural Engineering School. You went to the,
That's
you go.
Right?
You were in the very first cohort for the farm. You've been breaking ground, but tell us about you. What inspired you? What drove you? What were those early moments in life that made you say, I'm going to be an entrepreneur?
Man, I started repackaging Kool-Aid in 3rd grade and selling it to the kids.
Oh, my goodness.
A little mini drug dealer. I could have been a drug dealer if, but it was Kool-Aid and those kids were hungry and I made money. And then I started selling Cutco knives. And then I started doing hair. Then I started selling hair. And then I started my own little export business because I knew all about China and India. Why not? Let's get some more products in the board. So I've always been an entrepreneur. It's just something that was embedded in me. I wanted just a lot. My mom was like, you always want lobster, but you always want, and I did. And I was like, I gotta have
lobster.
I deserve lobster. And and my parents are immigrants. They're Jamaican. And, that's not their idea of something they would give me. So I had to go out and get it.
There you go.
That was the lesson. Like, you go get it. If you want lobster, go buy it. You want some Nikes, go buy it. So it was always something that was, instilled in me. And I always had this dreams of making it. And just the creativity part, it was a part of my DNA. I'm an artist. At the end of the day, I like all types of art and I could do all types of art. And technology is just an art to me. It's, building this business is just using a part of my brain that taps into me drawing and me coloring, building furniture. And that I think that's kind of been one of the things that makes the-labz. It's like I have to use what I know about art and creativity and do something new. And that was really what brought me to it.
So do you think those early startups, the Kool-Aid startup, the hair startup, did they set the stage? Did they give you business lessons that you're applying now with the labs?
Yeah, it definitely gave me a sense of owning my work, owning, having responsibility for making, curating, and selling. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten that. It's not taught at school. And when you get your job, you're working for someone else. You don't see the big picture of everything. And honestly, even to go deeper to entrepreneurship, I was fully working, very, successful in what I did. I was a management consultant, project manager in technology. And I felt barriers with me making it to the next level. I wanted to be CIO. I felt like I could. I was good at what I did. And the barriers just was unsettling to me. Why couldn't I? Why wouldn't you give me this promotion? Why do I have to be here 20 years to be the CIO of the company? I could do it right now. And it was always, you don't have the experience. And I remember, I was like, I'll just go out and get it. I'll just start my own company and I'll show y'all that, I'll come back and I'll show you that I can do budgets and do this and manage people and all that stuff. So really, initially, it was like, how do I become a leader in someone else's organization? And that became, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with doing what I wanted to do and seeing change directly with the people I was helping. That felt really good. And just the taste of what I was doing before, it didn't sit right as much anymore. And I was willing to do anything really to stay and build and be in this space of my own making. But I wanted it to be successful and I believed in myself and others believed in me, which fueled my will to move on. But really, it was lack of opportunity, and that brought me to where I am today.
I gotta pick up on the Kool-Aid stand, though.
Yes.
And I gotta draw the thread here of something that you're doing that I think all entrepreneurs have to do is reframe their journey and their circumstance. So, people talk about a lemonade stand. You had a Kool-Aid stand, learn the same values and the same foundations that you carried with you to business. And then finding out even in the corporate space that, maybe I'm not going to get to CIO, even though I'm ready today. I'm going to reframe the conversation and become my own CIO. So I think that's really important to point out.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful lesson. I was sitting here soaking it up because these were lessons that, quite frankly, a lot of our forefathers knew coming even out of slavery. There were barriers to what they could do, so they went out and did it for themselves. They had the skill sets. They could shoe horses. They could build. They could farm. And so they turned inward and built and created communities. And somewhere along the road, we've lost those lessons. So to hear how you took a set of circumstance, a career profile and said, I'm already there. But since you're not going to give me that job, I'll just take that same profile and apply it to problems that I'm already solving and to prove that I have that capability. I love that. When I was a management consultant, I referred back on those same types of early startups and said, I solved the same problem that McKinsey's solving right now when I was in high school. The only difference was the number of zeros behind the problem, right? And once you know the problem is the same, the zeros don't really matter. It's can you solve the problem? And this is so beautiful at what you just laid out. So moving now into your passion, your art, you combined your love for entrepreneurship with your art and created a platform that solved a problem in the music space. Walk us through that journey. How did you realize there was a big issue that needed to be solved?
So I married someone who was in the music industry at the time, and his community was musicians. And, I was really heavy into what I was doing, and I was in like the worst project ever, but it had a little bit of every kind of solution attached to it. It was a multi-million-dollar project, and it was horrible for me. And I was like, I have to find a way to create something. And I started attending startup events that you do your research first, right?
Right.
I didn't know how to do that. Started attending startup events, and I got so inspired by folks. And I was like, I just need an idea, right? And my husband's, community of artists would be at the house, or I'll go somewhere with him. And I just started hearing stories, and they were not good stories. And it was really, people who just didn't understand how the process of being creative and making music needs to equal up to some business process. So their music was being stolen or used without their permission, and they didn't have any copyright. They didn't have what they call a split sheet, which is for identifying yourself as the owner of that piece of work. They didn't even know that existed. And here am I on this really difficult project that's all about automation, all about automating what work people are doing in an organization and not leaving nothing a chance. So I was like, man, this would be great. Let me know more about this industry and what the problems are. And I realized that that was something that was ignored a lot, the creative process and that issue. And it was at the time, it was a $2.5 billion, black box of lost royalties because there's no one to connect who actually did it. And then there's all these lawsuits because people were arguing because no one, claimed, their ownership and did actual documentation. So that was a big problem. And it ended up being, really bigger than I thought when I started. It was a lot of attention. I hardly started. And it was just like, this is great. Please solve this, especially to the creative community. They're like, thank you. Whatever you're building, we want to be a part of it. Thank you for building this. It felt really good to be able to identify something that people actually wanted. So moving further in the development of it, I attended a a pre-accelerator, Digital Undivided. And through that, I developed more of how do we solve this problem where people who aren't business people and who probably would never be business people would actually benefit from technology helping them. And that's where I came up with this collaboration platform. What are they doing? They're doing Dropbox. They're doing tweet transfer. They're sending their songs to somebody. They're writing lyrics on their phone. They're writing lyrics in Google Docs. How can we put all these things together so we can track what everyone's doing and then use automation to automate the forms that they need? And that was the beginning of it. And as it went through the process of getting customers, I identified schools were one of our big consumers without us even having a bunch of money to build out a big solution. They were like, we want this for our music schools. And so I got some customers and I got, started fundraising, and I got into another accelerator, got more money to build out more. And as the platform was transforming into what it is today, I realized that there was an opportunity to move faster and to even have a bigger impact to adding film.
Right.
And
right.
Yeah, and film, and one of the things, and I know you talk about the story, but one of the things that impacts Black founders is the lack of money to R&D. And I wasn't getting a lot of opportunities for funding with what I was doing. It was a good thing to do, and some people really backed it, and those people were great. But even the bigger deals that are needed to support a platform that was storage, it was Dropbox. This was, Google Docs. This was Slack, all in one. I need money to R&D, and I need money to move forward. So I wasn't seeing that, but I saw that immediately when I introduced film and television. And I met these creators and these publishing companies, distribution platforms that for film and theater, and they wanted it entirely. They're like, yes, come here. So through that, we've evolved, and we have a lot of filmmakers on our platform. We have people in the theater industry on our platform, and we even came up with a new product that we haven't, that we're releasing right now. That product is crazy. Mm-hmm. But it's hard. I'm making it sound really quick, but this is a very hard journey. Even now, where there is ultimately, I see the rainbow, right? And everything is going really well. It is extremely difficult to build a really successful business, even if you have all the opportunities. It is very hard.
Yeah, I mean, look at like Webvan. Webvan back in the late 90s, early 2000s, had all the business in the world, had billions of dollars in capital, but still weren't able to make that business work. You're right.
Yes.
You can have everything there in front of you, money, resources, people. It is hard to build a business, to disrupt an industry.
Yeah.
Well, I think also what you guys are talking about, is this product market fit thing, right, Farah? Because, you knew that there was demand for your service, but it really, maybe it wasn't a fit for the solution that you could develop at the time, right? Yeah. Because it kind of seems like it needed to be everything for everyone, and no one can be really successful without a level of focus, I think, early on and then building on that. But, do you agree with that?
I totally agree with that. There were opportunities within music if I built something for one big client, and that would have been the end of my success. And I've seen it happen. So I actually seen people who have gotten plenty of money, my counterparts or even competitors, and they've gotten the big deal from that one big label, and you never hear from them again. They disappear. And I didn't want to do that. Huh?
Well, when you say you never hear from them again, do you mean it goes out of business, or they get a big check and they exit and they move on?
Some exited, but majority of the time, they did it. They were that company's tech people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I ran into that same sort of question when I was building my last startup. Mm-hmm. Bank of America came knocking on the door and said, we want to use the product. Now, the CIO pulled me aside and he said, when Bank of America invests in a startup to use their technology, essentially you become Bank of America. Mm-hmm. And he was basically saying, you're going to do everything we want you to do because we're the biggest, baddest bank on the block. And when we say jump, you're going to say how high. Now, fortunately, I knew they were going to come knocking. And I built a platform that was flexible enough to be configured for Bank of America and still scale without adding new cost. And I think that what you're saying is the problem that a lot of Black entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs in general, you end up in a bat shop where you're building Ferraris and people want to pay Toyota prices, and that's how they put you out of business, right? Yeah. You build it for one customer, and like you said, you become their IT department going forward because you can't scale that customized solution in a marketplace.
Yeah, unless you have, you were smart with doing that too. I mean, unless that's your business model and you have 5 customers, that's perfect. But what I wanted and what I believed was true was that there was millions and millions of people that make music at the time, that make music that haven't been tapped into because technology wasn't solving their problem. And I didn't want to miss out on those people by focusing my energy over here where my goal and my passion, remember that, was about monetizing this sector and providing a service over here. So I went through RFP process for Universal. It was torture. I was like, I have to do the most. And my heart's still over here to supply needs for individuals and small businesses and, smaller. So at one point I totally stopped talking to labels, record, anybody huge. And guess what? I started making money. month over month because I was focusing more on the smaller checks, but those smaller checks ended up being a significant amount of revenue. So I just kind of took my energy from one place to another.
Help the audience understand how you got those checks. Where was that value being created? And after that, I want to drill down just a little bit more on your workflow so the audience understands just how your solution plugged in and helps you make that money. But to walk us through that process, how did you earn that small check?
Sure. So accessing your market and having access to people who can make decisions is like everything, right? So I'm focusing on these big companies. There's so many people that I need to talk to just to get to the decision maker. And because I'm dealing with a product that could be publishing, could be artist relation, do you care or don't you care? It's really hard to find those folks. So you can spend a lot of time trying to look for those folks. Versus for my world, the people that can make decisions are the people I am directly talking to. I'm talking to the owner of little record label or medium-sized record label. I'm talking to the head of A&R and artist development. They're looking for something like this. It's relationship based. I can get in front of them really quickly. I can sell them on the value because I found a market. I found I hate to call them lower hanging fruit, but these people actually I was solving the problem for them. Mm-hmm. And they could.
So where did you go to studios first, or you went to the A&R department for Caroline Records, or?
Well, I joined organizations. So I joined music-protection-labz, and I asked for help. Hey, can you introduce me to some people? And they did. Went to events, spoke at events.
Like AC3, that type
A3C, do my booths. Joined NAM, which is another older music organization out in, they have really big audience, 100,000 members across the United States. We did LinkedIn, people hit us up and told their friends, and guess what they're doing? So Yeah, it was. I didn't have a big sales team or anything like that. It was really like tapping people, getting on the call with them. Once they seen the platform and heard the value, the likelihood of them buying was high. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how we went through that. Mm-hmm. But my plan was always to get one of the bigger organizations to buy in so that they would be a partner and introduce us to everyone. So we did partner with My Music. We partnered with, which had a 10,000 user base. We partnered with another one company in Texas for their artist tours that they do. And we're a part of those artist tours and we're a sponsor. So partnerships, making friends, get introductions, LinkedIn, introducing yourself on LinkedIn. And all those things are kind of what we did. What we needed for music was a big partnership with one of the PROs, Performing Rights Organization, like ASCAP, BMI. Tried that, almost got it a couple of times. Something that would push us from 1 to 10 licenses to 100, 200. We got a couple of schools, which was good, and brought on some other schools. But to me, I wanted to move faster. And that took probably like music supervisors. I had part of what they wanted. They wanted me to build more. I could have built more, but I needed money to build more. Was I going to take all my revenue to go build more? Or, just other folks, labels wanted, the maybe medium-sized labels wanted a little bit more. They wanted some stuff for management, the A&Rs to do more stuff in there.
Well, I was going to ask if you could drill down on that workflow a little bit that Mark was mentioning, because I don't know if people understand how complicated the mechanics that behind the music business are with regards to rights management.
Yeah. So the workflow for the industry, I believe it is very complex. And I've been in rooms with leaders of like conferences where it's 100 people of the top industry leaders across the globe. And they don't understand how this works.
That's right. That's true.
And that was very disheartening. I think that was true. Like the time where I was like, what am I doing? I'm trying to get to you guys. Y'all don't even know. Like, what am I doing?
Oh my gosh, that is so true. Do you know, Farah, I didn't learn that until I was a representative for the creatives as a manager. I didn't learn that at the top levels at Sony. And I worked in business affairs. And I knew that there was a complex undergirding, but you have to actually go through the process. Mm-hmm. And if you're just on the sales side of the business, going through the process of the mechanics and the legalese and negotiating contract and the licensing agreements and how those are aggregate.
Listen, they've been asking me to build data this and metadata that and aggregator this. And I was like, this sounds so boring and I don't want to do that. And I went to that place and where they all were hanging out and talking about data and how we help artists, and realized I would have totally wasted my money building this thing out because they don't care. Like, they really don't care at the end of the day. Artists care, people that represent artists personally care, but the labels and the DSPs, which are the Spotify's, they don't care. They care about the Miley Cyruses and the Mariah Careys of the world. Everybody else better fall in line. So why am I building something that I ultimately, no one knows what the whole story is? So I can't build a proper solution for everyone. No one's on the same page. So people are trying to do it. Kudos to them. They've been trying to do it since I even researched this. Nobody's really out in the market, but you read about them, about to be out, and good luck to them. But it is a very complex place.
With your solution, I wanted to make sure the audience understood that you were bringing some of the best thinking from a technology perspective into solve this problem. Am I correct in saying that you had blockchain as an underbase to the solution to replace stuff like Dropbox and give it better rights management, a better security control over documentation. I mean, you were bringing forth some solutions that when you launched were very, very new to not just the music industry, but just new in general.
Yeah, definitely built something that solved the creative problem of did I write this? And did we make this together? And here's a record of what we all did in this session or, over time. And here's a record of what we've agreed upon at the end of our collaboration. And that was what I was solving. But, the idea of that's just a small piece of, the bigger picture. So when I talk about, record labels and publishing companies, they don't necessarily, get into the mix of things until later on, and sometimes it benefits them from the creative not doing that business process. So you're fighting against, the creative that we already have identified, they don't like business that much. And the people that do love business, we're fighting to be that mediator. And that was not enough technology to do that.
Right.
It just wasn't the solution to fight the middle and, help the parties see eye to eye. So,
right.
But what we've built in the scheme of things to get to that solution was a very good collaboration system that had all these capabilities for people visually depicting audio and later visual and being together and, and it looks good. Right. We created that. So therefore our pivot wasn't this big, let's start over. It was like, let's build upon that. We still have IP protection. We still track, we still do all these things, but we're doing it for the purpose of better collaboration, more visual, interconnected feedback, all those things.
And so that was really just a shift in market as it was a shift in your product.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Before we get to that pivot, I want to ask, and don't take this the wrong way, but was it tough selling into this market as a Black female?
It was very hard. You would think.
Which market? The music
market?
Film?
The music market?
Okay. Yeah. In music, we're in Atlanta. You see T.I., you see a lot of Black people, but when you get into like the executive level of music, the decision makers of music outside of R&B and hip hop, we're not there. We are just not there. When I'm in Anaheim, the biggest, oldest music merchant conference, there is like 2 Black people that are presenting, and I'm one of them. Over this 100,000 people conference that happens every year. And, they love me. They're like, whoa, Black person, I saw you on stage. I remember you. I still get that today with people I'm interacting with. They're like, I remember you from NAMM. I saw you on stage because she was the only sister in the whole place, and even, some of these meetings I was attending, I was the only one. And the idea of me knowing technology was just foreign. People would be like, this is your company? Is it? So who runs this? Me? Oh, they'll sit back in their chair and be like, okay. Like I've seen very like, I forget the word, but not upfront racism, but very like, oh, you're doing this, then you're not. I've never seen anyone like you like really succeed. So I'm not racist, but I've never seen anybody like you succeed. So I'm not really going to put my effort in this.
Let me push back on this a little bit and ask you, because I think it's important to kind of flip that type of behavior. Mm-hmm. Has that ultimately played in your favor, being the only in the room? Being that person that people still come up to you and say, I remember you from that presentation. Like, it's a long game. And I know that there are more days than not that is not fun. But do you think that's going to play to you, that people underestimate you?
They do. And the difference between people who are like approaching me for business and they like the fact that I'm in this space, even if they don't look like me, I get support there at times. But then it goes to like the bigger decision makers or even investors. They're not trusting me all the way. It's like, I'll trust you with this, but I'm not going to trust you with this big thing right here. I ain't never seen you before.
It's back to that thing. I've never seen you before. So I just don't believe it. It couldn't be you, right? But it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I do get people like, I had one white guy call me Oprah. He's like, you remind me of Oprah. I really want to work with you. I was like, all right, I'll take it. Whatever.
Right.
Hey,
I'm be there.
Oprah. I get a lot of, they know I'm Black. It's not like they're just ignoring that or just like wanting me for just because, but it does play in my, I believe I got invited to speak at NAMM because I was a sister and they never seen a sister with a technology company before. And I was up there and I was happy, and I got really good connections there. But even when I'm trying to make partnerships with some of the bigger DSPs, I get those. If there's a sister of any leadership there, she's probably the one brought me in the room, first of all. That's typically how it goes. I'm in this room because Monica told them what I did before they told them who I was. And that is, that's the truth. My truth, at least.
And Farah, I think this is important to point out for the audience too. Like, that's not going away in short order. That's layers upon layers and upon layers of socialization. There was a woman very high up in leadership here in Atlanta, leading in the global community as like at the CEO level, and she still deals with just that type of suspicion, undermining, negativity. Even she's got experience and credentials for days. So I don't know. I think what I'm saying for you and the audience, kudos to you and for having the fortitude, the mental fortitude to deal with that. I don't think that it's going to go away soon.
Yeah, you're right. Finding your people, finding your allies, really just moving fast away from the people like that is what's helped me. I can tell when some dude is being condescending, and it's just, I can pick up on that really quickly because I've just have so much experience with it. And, I could pick up when people just want me because I'm Black, and I'm fine. Just give me some power. I know what to do with it. I'll help the next sister and brother come up. So I know I'm like a psychologist now. I know behavior. I could sniff it away. And you now you have their power. What do you do with it? You kind of use it to have people waste your time, or you get more people that are in this category that are going to actually move you forward. So,
and that's a perfect segue to your pivot. You've now built this great tool that can manage rights, that can help with collaboration, that can document the workflow. And now you found your people, the people who want to pay for that, and with the types of checks that can grow the business at the pace that you want to grow at. Take us through that journey. How did you find that new market, and what was different about that group of customers than what you faced in the music industry?
Yeah. So I met about 2 years ago. I was in a pitch competition, and one of the judges, Adrian Bowman, she loved, even though I didn't win the pitch competition, she loved the-labz with the music. And she was the CEO of the company Level Forward, which is co-owned with Abigail Disney and her. And we kept in contact, and I was in New York fundraising, and she was in New York at that time, and I was asking her for money. And she was like, I won't give you money right now, but I want to be your first film customer. I feel as though this is a really good use case for film. And I always knew eventually would get there, but I'm still trying to sell music folks and try to get some momentum in that area. So I was like, well, this is money. You know, she wasn't asking for it to be a free pilot. So we started a pilot with her and we started developing some concepts around, you know, understanding if this was actually a thing, a business, and how could the labs help film creators. We're not going to assume that they collaborate the same way as musicians, but we're willing to test it out. So once we finished, we found that it was a market, and they invested. Instead of moving forward with the pilot, the second phase, they invested a small amount back in February. And we started wrapping up. They introduced me to their community. People start kind of coming into our little beta area for film. And then COVID happened. And people wanted to use our now souped up collaboration platform that had video conferencing and Slack-like communication for presenting to their audience. And it was not made for that. So when we, in level 4, Adrian, put our heads together, it was like, why don't we have all the tools. People love that it's interactive. They want it to be in here because we're streaming video and we're streaming audio and we have images and we got all these things that they can touch and play with while they're looking. Why don't we make this an audience-facing platform? And that's the new product. So as we were building it out, we actually have, and we're almost finished. We'll be finished with it next week and launching next month, is a platform that we already have about 65 shows for the month of September. We have
oh my God, can we use this for we? I think entrepreneurs are another version of creatives, right? We got different ways we want to present and collaborate.
Yes, of course. Let's talk, girl. But but I've never been in this situation where, I guess because of COVID, I know people are going through it. This has been the best thing that happened for collaboration platforms. People are so excited about the idea of not using Zoom for their theater production or not using YouTube anymore and having to be forced to stream. They get a fully curated experience where everything is interactive for audience. They could do screenings. They could do film festivals. Miley Cyrus can have a show and have a fan experience and sell merchandise on a platform that's branded to look like her. I mean, it's just a blank space that people can build. And I've never been here where people are just like, we've pretty much turned down shows because we're just not ready. We're not ready we're not, organizationally ready. We probably need to raise some more money before we kind of, move all the way open. So right now we haven't even launched on our website. You will find nothing on our site about it, but we have movies that we're premiering for next month. And this is really a new place and I'm excited about it, but it's also very, it's new. So of course there's fear in the new, but you embrace that, especially if you're an entrepreneur. You just absorb all the newness and fear. And you're like, this is what I'm made for, Sparta.
That's right.
All of that.
The fear is your spinach, right?
Kicking down doors and turning stuff over and you just go through it. That's
there
what we
go.
do.
I love that. So with the with this pivot and this amazing amount of traction, I love how you tap down the response from people who wanted it. I've seen situations where people get out over their skis, taking on more than they can handle, and ending up destroying their company. So, turning away projects that are not quite good for the platform and focusing in on what you can handle. I love that you're doing that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Women do that, Mark. That's what women do.
And we never ask for directions,
Listen,
okay?
I have 2 children. I have a husband, and I got this business that, I have to manage a lot in my life. So there's only so much I could do. But fortunately, I've also know how to find resources. So I'm building my team, have a great team right now that's like really taking a lot off so I can continue to be creative and grow and also get optimized.
Be a CEO, right.
Be a CEO. There's things I'm like, oh, we need to do that too. Dang, I didn't think this would come so fast. Like, like little things that normally bigger companies would do, but because we're moving so fast, it's kind of like we have to think about these things, especially if everything is, if things continue this way and we're growing 30-40% a month, then we need to have our own server farm at this point. We need to do these things. We need to start thinking about who we're going to hire, how we're going to hire people. And though we're not going to move until we get closer, we need to make sure we have some idea, because then we're going to miss out on opportunities where we very well could have had.
So Farah, have you experienced an increase, like an interest to fund with this success? Is funding coming to you now, or have you seen that yet?
Funding was starting to come during beginning of COVID, before this even started, because it was collaboration, and the folks, the investors, the angels, at least I know, with money, who I've talked to in the past, their companies were not doing well. Their car company, their restaurant company that they invested in, they weren't doing well. So when they go down the list of, and if I'm on LinkedIn and someone tagged me on something, I'm first top of mind. So I was getting offers at the beginning of COVID, because now collaboration is important, but they weren't very good offers. They were like COVID-based offers. Like, take what you got, and deal with it. Nobody's going to give you a better deal. And I just knew at the end of the rainbow what I want. I want not to be working for someone else. I still want to own the company. It's not that type of party, and I just didn't, want to proceed. I think I could have got a better deal. And luckily, Level 4, they understood at that time what I needed, and they were willing to provide me the deal that I needed. So that was great. But now there are opportunities that I haven't even announced this, and I'm getting opportunities just based off the clients that not secretly, but the clients we got from these opportunities we're having in the next couple of months. They're telling investors, and investors are contacting me, and it's a totally different experience for me. I'm like, oh, just wait. Let me get September over. Y'all, let's make this package look really good before I start fundraising again. Because at the end of the day, I want ownership. I want to build wealth. I love what I do, but also I want us to see that we can build a company that's really profitable, and at the end we still have enough ownership for us to help the next generation of whoever, and I see that over and over again that we don't, and even our counterparts don't. They give away a lot of their company, and then you don't own it. They kind of work for it. They leave with like 2%, and that's cool, but that's not really the exit strategy, and I'm really sticking to that. That's really important to me.
I think it's very important for you to stay on mission and know why you're doing it and understand your why, because there is the successes in that.
The why, yes, that's how I would fit it.
One more thing I wanted to kind of unpack here is the value of those relationships. Can you unpack for the audience how important building those relationships were in the success of your business? Because I listened to how you explained the path to your first film client where you stayed in contact, you were in New York, you continued to ask for money. How important is it to have those relationships and nurture them to get the outcome that you ultimately want?
Yeah, relationships are extremely important. I think as an entrepreneur, your job is to make it happen. It's not one person saying no it shouldn't even bother you anymore. I mean, you should get to the point where you're consistently trying to find what you need, and that causes you to meet a lot of people, because that's, a lot of times you're going to need people to help you or to provide or believe in what you're doing in order to get to that next level. So I talk to everybody. I've been introduced. I've asked people for introductions. These folks may reach back out to me. They may see me in a presentation or see something I've been in on LinkedIn, and I'll put them on my newsletter. They see my determination, and it's not about them and me needing them. It's them seeing that I am doing this without them. And I'm continuing. That
always works. That always works.
Yes, it always works. And reality is it's true. I mean, that's how I feel. I have to continue, but you stay humble. You talk to people like humans. People want to help. If I see some people who kind of take on this very mean or this demeanor, like the demeanor of like this very aggressive bully. And because they've seen that work or they've been around that. And I didn't want to be that. At one point I thought you had to be that in order to be successful, because that's all I was around. And I was like, I don't want to, that's not me. I am a business person. I'm serious about my stuff. But at the same time, I want to treat everybody like a human, no matter what position they are in life. And that's been the best thing, because people who I've started with 5 years ago are head of labels now, are best friends with the Rockefellers and want to intro me because they remember I was really nice and I'm determined, and those relationships build up, but you can't just be genuine. Just don't go be predatory to a person because they got some hookups, Yeah.
It's a long game. It's back to that long game. And I'm also, Farah, so happy that you said that wasn't you. I find particularly for women with big ideas and big goals and wanting to achieve those goals quickly, you can often find yourself trying to mimic what you think is like the personality or the behavior that's going to get you to point B quickly, but it may not suit you. It may not suit your leadership style. It may not suit your personality. And for that reason, you will end up not building the relationships that you need. It gets back to that, like you're not going to build it in a year. It's going to take 10 years. That's how long it takes.
That's how long. Listen, but those 10 years, at the end of that 10 years, and you kept your sanity and you kept pushing, you're going to have something that a lot of people don't have in 10 years. Millions of dollars. Like, wouldn't you use 10 years? Like, just think about it. Who can do 10 years with your 401k and have 10, 20, or whatever that your goal is from starting out to 10 years later? It is the price of entrepreneurship is that price. And it's not overnight, like TV would tell you.
Do you ever see yourself circling back to your original market? If you get the kind of traction that you want in the film space and you build this $1 billion business, do you see a day that you circle back to music?
It's already happening. I've never went all the way out, but through film, music is funny. Music is influenced heavily by other areas. In film and television and theater is all entertainment with sports. So I've been showing our platform to the folks that like major folks that are doing who normally would do tours. Now they're doing social media, digital experiences, live experiences. They're all bored. So
the whole Versus thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess are you a competitor to Versus? Will you end up buying Versus, Farah?
Versus, I think, is Apple now. I would, yeah.
Well, yes, it is. Yes. They did do a deal with Apple. However, Timberland and Swiss Beats retained the creative IP rights to the process. It's not exclusive necessarily. I'm just saying.
I hear you. I hear what you're saying. Let's do it. But I'm working on I mean, it's funny because we're doing Broadway musicals on our platform. They're doing some script readings and Broadway shows, Jagged Little Pill, and some of these artists who were artists, Lennis Morissette, and some of these musicians that are creating these are on our platform now. And now it's this. The world is coming together cohesively, and you'll see that these things are kind of coming in hand. Yeah.
So you moved to film, and film had music baked into it, which led you back to more music.
Led me back to more music. Yeah.
There you go.
Led me back to the same labels that were like, we're good.
There you go. Exactly.
We're good with your little platform. Go somewhere.
Exactly. Now you come back, you're not so little anymore.
Not so little. Yes.
See, the reason I ask is that, I think Atlanta could be the hub for music, but we lack the kind of infrastructure that you're building. The type of infrastructure you're creating will do for music and for film what I think will transform this town into the hub where the executives, where the intellectual work is done. And we film a lot of movies here, but when the filming's done, all the editing, all the other processes go back to some other city. Platforms like yours mean that work is going to stay here. In Atlanta and open up a whole new realm of possibilities for people in the community. Is that what you see happening?
I do see, and I'm getting on calls with folks that my LA folks and my New York people have connected me with, and there's an Atlanta person on. I'm like, hey, what you doing here? They're like, what you doing here? And we're surprised to see each other because we're not in the room. I haven't experienced a lot of that in the decision-making rooms. And so, yes, this platform is taking away the division, and there is no excuse. Our resources are here. They can work just like anything else. Like we're planning on using our platform for what they call a studio village on sets. So because we have the live element in our the one that, not the venue one I was talking about, but in the collaboration suite, we have that you can go live. We have a way for movies and films to have their daily upload of takes and films, and the whole cast be able to stream that with multiple views without downloading it. That's something that, is very unique. So it's a lot of division, the lack of division and all those things we don't have to worry about in our stuff.
I love that. I
do too. There was no way that was going to succeed in music first, because I think even as a piece of media, music does not present or encapsulate your idea the way that visual media does. Now you can go back to music.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
And I hope one day be the pioneer behind what I hope to happen, which is turning music into a digital currency, which will make millionaires out of so many of the people that have been lost in this process that you originally started this business around.
Yeah, exactly. I'd love to do that.
Well, we've enjoyed this discussion. I mean, this has been fascinating. I am rooting for you because you are going to be like the Oprah. Can I use that term if that guy used it?
I love Oprah. Call me Michelle.
I don't say
there we go, Michelle.
But she's going to be the Farah.
There we go. Exactly. People are going to start using that as the term because you are going to remake two industries with your platform. So we're so excited that you spent this time with us and gave us an understanding of the process, the barriers, the issues, and then doing it your way, right? A lot of entrepreneurs they forget that last part, why they started and what they wanted to get out of it. So I appreciate you bringing that to the forefront. How can the community connect with you and connect with the labs and learn more about what you're doing?
Okay. Well, thank you for that. So our website, the-labz, with a Z, LABZ.com. We're on Instagram, the-labz_tech, and that's for Facebook and Twitter as well. Want to reach out to me, you can reach me at Farah, one R, Farah, Allen, @the-labz.com.
Well, thank you so much. Ms. Hooks, is there any closing words from you?
Farah, you are brilliant. You the one. I'm so happy for all of your success on the horizon. And thank you for sharing your experience with all of these women coming behind you and standing on your shoulders.
Ms. Allen, is there anything we can do to help you as a community?
You know what? You guys are this is a big part of the voice that needs to be heard, and for all the entrepreneurs to know that folks like me, folks like Monica, folks like Mark are out here. We're not only working for ourselves and our families, but we want to see more of us in the forefront. I think that's a responsibility we all just automatically have. When you're just unrepresented, you got to represent. I don't care what you think you're not going to do. You have to, and you have no choice. People are looking at you and they're mimicking, and the whole point is to surpass and they have more of us. So you guys are just, thank you for having me on the show. I think this is helpful for me. And it's helpful for so many other people.
Guerrillapreneurs, was that not a fire episode? I want to thank Ms. Farah-Allen for coming on the podcast. And of course, I want to send a special Guerrillapreneur thank you to my co-host, Miss Monica Dolores Hooks. And guys, if you enjoy shows like this, you got to hit the subscribe button. You got to share it. You got to give us a comment. You got to give us a like. You got to help us beat those pesky algorithms. I want you to also know that episodes like these are building towards a town hall meeting that we plan to have in November to discuss issues like this, issues like clean water, issues like job creation, and how tech can do that and solve many of the problems that we face in the African American community. Be on the lookout for that. Sign up, get to the town hall, and make your voice heard. Want to support the podcast? Get over to Patreon, patreon.com/Guerrillapreneur, and sign up to be a supporter for this show and get yourself some cool Guerrillapreneur swag. Hat, t-shirts, nothing like them. All of them have that cool disrupt or die slogan on them, and you need to be wearing this at the next accelerator that you get accepted to. If you like Guerrillapreneur, you may also like one of my other podcasts, Gigging, Everything in the Sharing Economy. If you love following the gig economy or planning on launching your own gig startup, that's the podcast for you. We interview CEOs, founders, market makers, market leaders, and they all come on and predict the future of the gig sharing and platform economy. If you're not ready yet to be an entrepreneur and you think you can climb that corporate ladder, you may want to listen to Career Coaching X's and O's. I've had 25 plus years of experience as a senior executive in Fortune 500 companies. I think I know a few things that could help you get that corner office. There'll be links to both shows in the show notes. Guys, Bob Sullivan said it best in episode 7. Be a mace. Sharpen your spikes. And if you're not out there breaking something, your company might be the next thing that gets broken. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Guerrillapreneur, the Art of Waging Small Business Warfare podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, You may also enjoy the book Guerrillapreneur, Small Business Strategy for Davids Wanting to Defeat Goliaths. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and iTunes. Follow Mark Peterson on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Guerrillapreneur. Now I want to close with a quote from the great Chinese military strategist Sun Tzu. Victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first, then seek to win. Keep fighting, guerrillapreneurs.